if that one complains, all the other 9 will go join with him. Yeah, I also had the same problem. So your problems are going to from private to public. The same way, if somebody had bought a good brand from private to public, so that's going to help you. This you have to learn to handle. So the change of rule is your conversations are moving from private to public and from one way to two way. These are the 2 most important that you have got to learn in social media. And there is a direct dialogue. As I said just now, if your VC is tweeting and you are tweeting back to him, put reply, then you have a direct dialogue. You are not going through your HOD, other people and all that. So social media tools always create direct dialogue. Amplification, as I said, one complaint and now you have 10 people joining there. One good ambassador and you have 10 units sold. So it always gets amplified, and from singular to limited. See, in traditional method your resources were limited. In social media you have almost limitless resources. Again, when we talk about brand and social media, people are always scared about PR. Now the PR challenges involved is people talking to people. Whether you like it or not, 2 people will talk about your brand. You don't need to be a part of the conversation. That's one of the challenges. How do you participate there? You cannot control it, but you can participate there. And distributed networks, not on single network. You don't know, the brand does not know a network exists and they are talking about the brand there. So it's going to be everywhere talking about your brand. And zero, as I said, if you're a control freak, better change. Because from absolute control, you are going to go zero control. But it's a process, you will learn it. Because it looks today, whatever I did, I had a feeling that I controlled it. Tomorrow, whatever happens, I'm not going to, there is no way, whether you participate or not, that's the beauty of social media. I don't think a brand, even if they are not aware of the conversation will continue. That's the beauty now. And ignoring is not an option. Why? Because if you don't know, first of all, somebody is talking about you, good or bad, then you stand to lose. That's why I said, when I talked about ROI yesterday, that you will exist in business in future itself is an ROI. So ignoring is not at all an option. What you have to do, these PR challenges do exist, but you have got to learn to handle them. Safeguard by being sincere. If there is a negative comment or if there is a bad experience with your brand, be sincere. Accept that it can happen. It has happened to you with other brands. So you be sincere and then take that criticism, act on it, acknowledge the problem when you are sincere, and then take that criticism, operate on it and convert to opportunity. I'll tell you the same way customers who are negative, when you take that criticism, act on it, they become your ambassadors. In most of the cases, it works. And if you do a bad move in traditional methods, it's okay. You can still afford to do it. But if you do a bad move in with social media tools, it can become a nightmare. For example, deleting a comment can be a nightmare. People get very aggravated when you do wrong things on social media. So you've got to be careful. Proper policies, training and follow-up. Like in any other area, these 3 are a must with social media tools also. Always ask me, okay, now can you quote some examples of where social media tools are being used? I come from a pharma background, so I always say there are lots of pharma companies who are engaging patients and physicians through social media tools. They have been using Twitter, they have been using Facebook, they have been using YouTube, blogs, everything. But it's one of the most regulated industry. There are still guidelines coming. It's still not yet there in place, but that has not deterred pharma companies from talking to patients and physicians. The classic example that I would give you is patient groups. You find some of the pharma companies promote community of patients to talk. And real estate agent, buyers, sellers, again, this is one thing which you can commonly see. Even in India, I have seen a lot of real estate agents and promoters using social media tools. And then retail, books and mobiles, obvious. That's where you can learn a lot because it's already there. And then restaurants. Some of the restaurants, see, I'll tell you, You go to a new neighborhood, you just say that I am in this neighborhood, what's a good food to eat? Or if you are a vegetarian, you say, I am looking for 100% vegetarian. The restaurants who monitor these comments can reply to you saying that, okay, we have got this menu, will you be interested, come over. So they are using it. And then on investment side, see, people generally say there is absolutely no investment, no expenses on that. I wouldn't say that. I would say there is no capital expenditure because creating an account in most of the network is free, and even the applications that you use for minimal features, it's free. But if you are a big brand and using some of the applications, you can even that cost is a fraction of the cost that you would spend in traditional methods. But there are indirect operational expenditure. As I said, remember the target audience. So if you have a huge target audience, to reply to them, to engage them in conversations, you have got to have so many people. So there are going to be indirect operational expenditure. So you have got to see which target audience, how big are you doing it, and then take into account how much resources you would spend on. The best practices. Social media is very good, is easy if you put in place a policy and follow best practices. You have to do social media not as a different thing, but as a business process. For example, whoever is handling your brand, in traditional ways, they have to be brought in and they have to handle the customers, and you cannot employ just 2 social media guys and then give them the whole business and then say that you handle it separately and we will handle this separately. It doesn't work. So it has to be into your brand workflow. And smart strategies, short-term and long-term goals. See, short-term could be some getting 100,000 people onto my brand, visit my brand, like my brand. But that's in long-term have to convert into sales or customer satisfaction or whatever criteria that you have. Diverse set of tools, use all the, or don't depend on single tool. As I said, you can blog. I advise generally keep blog as your home and use all the other networks, other tools as outposts. See, for example, I always say when you meet a customer on the road or somewhere else, you start talking to him, but he wants more information. Probably you invite him to your office, or probably you invite him to a distributor point or something like that. So your blog can be your office, and these outposts you can initiate conversation and bring them on to your home to engage them. And then measure relevant metrics. See, suppose I want to see how much I have sold because of social media. So I got to choose a relevant metric. That is, how many people did I engage in conversation, how many got converted, how many bought my product, and how many referred, how many got satisfied with my thing. So your metrics of social media has always been linked to your brand objectives. And feedback, of course, like in any other process that we do, take feedback and fine tune your strategies. Plan for adequate resources. I keep telling this because people just jump in with a huge network and try to engage everybody, and they don't answer people, or they don't know that a conversation has happened, and that can fire badly. Again, one of my favorite slides is this: always start internal and go external is my advice, because internally there are enterprise tools which you can use to share knowledge, for training, for collaboration and problem solving. I'll tell you an interesting example. I go to a company, I talk to a set of people who is handling a brand, and then I ask them first before the session, what are your questions? And then write it down, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, and then ask the same set of people, can anyone answer that? The question asked by someone is always answered by someone, and most of the time within that group, within that set of people, all the answers remain, but they never have shared. It takes somebody else to put them together and then do the process. So that is why I say these tools can be extremely useful if you can put them on one platform and allow them to share. And training with the distant geographies, with various locations, social media tools are a wonderful way to train people. Collaboration, I think a long session can be handled with collaboration. Collaboration is nothing but real time, everyone knows, everyone contributes. And problem solving, again, if you have a, let's say, network within your company where people post their problems and it is visible to everybody. Maybe you know your marketing problem, there is somebody in the factory, somebody elsewhere who will solve the problem. Not necessarily internal, this has also been tried out externally. Like a company has a problem, it asks its customers, what do they think could be the solution? And most of the time, you are amazed. If you have 2 people for problem solving internally, maybe you have 200,000 people who will try to solve the problem from externally. So these things can be tapped into. External, as I said, you can use social media tools for recruiting, customer support, sales, interaction with your customers, for taking feedback. The only thing is the scale at which it happens is really good for the brand. Measuring metrics, what do you measure in social media tool? We always say passive customers. How many people visited your brand? It could be, let's say, 10 million people visited your brand. Out of them, how many spoke to you? Active customers who took interest in talking about your brand, talking to you or talking to others about your brand. And referrals, how many of them after visiting your page referred to a friend, referred to somebody else? And then see what is as I said, it's not going to be all rosy. It's all not going to be only positive comments. There are going to be negative comments. But you have to see this ratio. For every 100 people talking good about me, if there is 1 or 2 who is talking negative about me, it's still okay, it's manageable. But if there are 100 people talking negative and 1 or 2 saying it's okay, I think I have got to recheck. So this always helps. And then see what kind of comments you invite. What kind of, are they, like he was telling in the last session. It is about the comments, it's not about positive or negative. The moment somebody comments, that means that they are interested in you. And forwards, we always forward to look at it. Then somebody says he is buying a mobile or a book or something like that, you see everybody jumps and then it gives you suggestions. Again, sales, customer satisfaction, ROI, leads, conversions, earnings, goodwill. See, these are done traditionally. The same thing can be measured with social media metrics also. Again, one of the most important thing, you have a very good brand already existing. You get onto social media tools, you have got to take care of the security, safety of the brand. Whatever you have built should not be destroyed. Or even if you are starting today, whatever over a period of time you will build, you should not allow it to be destroyed just like that, because the amplification is so high, it can happen before you realize it. So I always say employee behavior. Somebody getting out of your office can damage your brand. And spam, phishing, malware, like in any other IT field, whatever you are used to, the same can happen in social media also. And misuse or damage. So to take care of the security of the brand, once again, you have got to formulate your policies and practices. Who does what? Who answers the customer? Who has got what authority level to answer? It should never be on an impulse. A reward and penalty system. So somebody uses their creativity, promotes a brand, you reward them, and then if somebody makes a mistake and put your brand under difficulty, anywhere reward and penalty system work. And the same way, like IT security, you have got to take care of security of your social media presence also. In a nutshell, social media has its advantages, has its disadvantages. What you have got to see is, again, my favorite way of saying that is, you have risks, you have benefits. In a clinical setup, when you go to a doctor, I always say, like they evaluated risk versus benefit. Whenever the benefits are more, they take that as a call. So the same way for your brand also, you list out your risk, you list out your benefits. See how you can minimize your risk and then attempt to increase your benefits. So it's only the scoring over of benefits over the risk which will make a brand. And you cannot ignore social media, as I said. That's one of the risks, where the ROI is that you have to exist. In future, if you are, see for example, I'll tell you, If somebody is going to buy a brand and they are going to go over the internet and then buy it online. Now, what about the traditional shop? He loses out that sale. So, like that, if 80% of the customer move online, what happens? Your business might not exist. So, I always say a good ROI to start with is that you exist. Opinion on social networking sites is going to happen whether you like it or not, whether you participate or not. See, I am telling you, I am not going to ask you whether should I talk about you. I am not going to tell you I am talking about you. It's up to you to find out and come to me as a customer. So, what will happen? The risk of not adopting social media is loss of market share and loss of reputation. And the benefits are better positioning. You are getting more customers reaching out to them, and then higher payoffs, higher ROI in every metric that you can measure comparatively with traditional things. So, I thank you for the patient listening. Thanks once again for the opportunity, and you can tweet your questions at Bharat Krish. Thank you very much. I think we are going to the next session where we are going to have wonderful learnings from Mr. Nareen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bharat.